Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan from Peer Workers Network. I get a lot of questions through the Facebook group regarding more information about myself, where I've come from, what I've experienced, what the future plans for the Peer Worker Network is. I think it's very important to be open with all the members in regards to my own lived experience and what I've been through, I would say, in the last 25 years of having a mental illness. The problems I've faced, the problems I've overcome, the problems I still face with stigma and what I'm trying to achieve. I get a lot of negative feedback with what I'm trying to achieve, but I think it's something that I just need to put aside and keep moving on. So I'll start with the basics and my history. So I started experiencing hearing voices when I was about 14, 15 years of age in high school. I spent a lot of time in my teen years as being someone who was a smart ass and someone who was, how do I put it, just basically a smart ass, and that's how I dealt with it. My voices would control my thoughts. Well, I thought they would control my thoughts, therefore my thoughts became my voice, and my voice became a nickname of being a smartass. I moved on from high school. I didn't finish high school till I was 20, so I had real difficulties in high school dealing with my mental illness. I remember approaching one of my teachers and saying that I'm having some real difficult times with some of the voices and the thoughts that I was having. And back in the late 90s, the only thing that they had was the student counsellor. And I had a 2-hour meeting with them and some person, I don't remember what their role was being there. And that was it. 2 hours. Discuss your feelings and move on with your life. So then I always wanted to become a chef. That was like the end goal for me. I travel the world, do everything chefs were supposed to do, learn languages, learn different cuisines, learn everything there was to know about food, which is a bit of a impossible task, really, because who's ever going to know everything about food? It's like saying someone is going to know everything about biology. It's just not. Anyway, I'm digressing. So I went and became a chef. Worked in some 5-star hotels, some chef hat restaurants, and started my apprenticeship in 2000, 99, 2000, and then I'm in 2002 I opened up to my GP that I was struggling with my thoughts and my voices, and I needed some help because I was really, really struggling. Sleeping a lot, sleeping on my days off, sleeping in, missing work. So I was prescribed some medication, and it worked for a bit. I was getting out of bed, was going to work. People realised that had noticed that my grumpiness had changed, and then I changed jobs. I went to a different employer, and I went and worked in a restaurant with that employer, and that was probably the most difficult thing that I have done working in my whole life is working in that kitchen. And that led me to my breakdown in 2004, 3 and 4. I was living in Hawthorne at the time. I was having the CAT team come and visit me 2-3 times a day. I wasn't allowed to have my own medication. They suggested that I didn't leave my apartment, and if there was any problems, to give them a call. So I was under their care for a while, a long while actually. I ended up in hospital, which was an eye-opener. It just made me realise back in the early noughties that the hospital system was still not ideal, and that I really should try to avoid that as much as possible. So I ended up moving back home with my mum and spending a lot of time sleeping. I did the whole put the blankets up, block out all the light, put the little door noodle down so no light would come in underneath the door. I was lucky that the toilet was opposite my bedroom, so it wasn't too much of an effort to get up and go to the toilet. Really didn't look after myself. And then my brother stepped in and said, "Hey, look, this isn't healthy. We need to take down the sheets that was blocking out all the lights and all that type of stuff," and told my mum that she needed to open the curtains every day and all that type of stuff and try and get me up out of bed. So that was going. I ended up coming out of that, which was a really, really hard slog. And then I spent the next couple of years, going back to TAFE and all that other type of stuff, trying to find a passion in something, because I really didn't have a passion in life. So I went back to TAFE, studied accounting, realised that I'm not boring enough for accounting. Sorry all you accountants out there, but you're a special kind of people that's needed, but tax law's not my gig. So I moved on. Spent time. By 2006, I got the disability support pension, so I was earning really minimum amount of money. Spent a lot of time in limbo. Spent a bit of time living with my brother. Then life just escapes you. I tried to go back to TAFE and do some computer website design courses, and had a car accident, and then that put an end to that. That was at around 2009-ish. Floated through to 2014, 2015, where my friend Kerry, she said, "Hey, look, maybe you should come and do these courses at Paran Mission," and they were all about voices Vic and dealing with how to deal with your voices and stuff like that. And so I agreed to that and turned up, and I met some really cool people. Benny, Louisa, shout out. And I spent probably the next 6 months realizing that I wanted to become a peer worker in the mental health space. So it must have been 2015 I did all those courses. And 2014, 16, anyway, doesn't matter. So then Kerry and I really looked into how what I needed to do to become a peer worker. So I went back to TAFE and did a certificate in mental health at Swinburne, and really enjoyed the subject matter. And then I passed with flying colours because it was just enjoyable. Every subject, everything was just awesome. Even occupational health and safety. I loved it. So around about July, I found a job advertisement on the internet, and it was for a post-discharge peer support role at a hospital, and I applied, and I got the job, and I was just like, hell yeah, now I get to make a difference. This is what I've been working the last 2 years towards. This is really what I wanted to do. So I got in there and gave it my best. Unfortunately, the hospital didn't have the system set up yet, so I spent a lot of time in limbo, which was quite depressing. I was there for 6 months, and then I parted ways with the hospital. Now, I started in late August, and I was done by late Feb. So I spent the next March, April, May, June, July. I spent the next 5 months in limbo, licking my wounds, not really doing anything, and I was really questioning whether or not this is the environment that I wanted to get myself into, considering that I was working at a mental health facility, and I ended up feeling like I needed to go back into hospital after working there. So then I just had a brainwave. I just put it down as a brainwave and thought, well, there's got to be people out there that are in the same situation as I am. I'm not a one-off. I can't be a one-off. With all the people that are in the peer working field, I can't be the only one that got into was in a situation like that. So I started, and I thought of being Victoria based only. So I thought, oh yeah, I will be Victoria based, peer worker group, and we'll go from there. And then I realised soon after I started Victorian peer workers, I realised that it's a small group of people who have become peer workers, so I might need to branch out. So we changed and rebranded, and we branded to Peer Workers Australia, which took off. I really started working on this project in August last year, and we currently stand at 155 members. And these are people who have worked, are working, or want to work in the peer worker space. No consumers, and trying to keep the clinical staff down to a minimum. So we have a space where we can communicate, share information, share experiences, share stories, get advice from each other, and try and create a peer space that is sort of underdeveloped at the moment. There needs a lot more development just to create an environment for peer workers. So then we got to December-ish, and I was getting a lot of messages from members saying, look, I'm not happy where I am. I've spent 6 months here. I'm the only peer worker. I'm expected to do case management. I'm expected to do everything a social worker is meant to do. It's not a pure peer role like I expected it to be. And then I thought that, and this isn't a one-off. This wasn't a one-off. I got many messages with the same message, saying that they feel isolated. The peer worker feels isolated, and that management was not 100% understanding of what a peer worker role is. So I said to myself, well, I think this is the time to start an organization. And it's not my organization, it's our organization. It's an organization for peer workers by peer workers. Trying to eliminate the real clinical side of mental health, and just offer a service for consumers of support in the community. I have a real gripe with seeing consumers in a corporate office space as a peer worker. When you're seeing a consumer in hospital, that's a different story. You can't help that situation, especially if they don't have leave. But I feel going out and having a coffee with a consumer and talking and doing and applying your trade within that space is a lot better than sitting in a office with a 20-year-old computer and a stack of pens and notepads and a desk and really uncomfortable seating. It just doesn't really fit what I think is in the peer model. So I personally don't like it. I don't even like it when I go and see a psychiatrist or social worker or anything like that. I don't like that environment. I think it's too stale. It's not friendly. So we get into the situation where I've pitched the idea to a few people, and those people have come back with, it's a good idea, but funding. At the moment, I think it's just a matter of developing the idea and working the idea of having an organization that purely runs on a peer model, where there is a large number of peer workers working across the state, applying their trade, helping out consumers, which I think would be absolutely awesome. And I really hope I can. I'm working really hard. I've gone back to school to increase my knowledge of the system. So I will be releasing little bits of information. At the moment, I'm currently writing a proposal to the state government for funding. Once I've finalised that report, I will post it. I know some people are saying, well, why don't you paste it beforehand and we can give ideas and all that type of stuff. I just want to get the initial idea to the government so they don't end up having a 85-page document that they have to read through where everybody's had their say. I just want the government to see that I'm motivated to get it up and running. I want them to see that I have a group that is 100% behind peer working and what we are trying to achieve. I know people are busy with their own lives and work and all that type of stuff, but I ask everybody to just bear with me. If we can make a change now, I think the future will be bright for all of us. I think the time is now to get in and make changes and get the government on board. I've done some costings. I don't think it's a huge amount of money to get this program up and running, especially with some consumers having NDIS funding, and I think we could, have about 75 employees within the organisation, most of them peer workers, because at the moment I see the only problem with peer working is trying to get that job, that initial job. And the organisation that I want to achieve is all about providing an awesome service in a comfortable environment and ensuring that the peer workers have the most current and up-to-date training to help consumers out. So that's my story to date. It's a bit of a long-winded story, but I hope you all stuck through it. If you'd like to subscribe and click the bell on YouTube, that'll ensure you get a notification when I drop a video. I'm going to increase the rate of video releases because I like doing them. Hopefully they're not as long-winded as this, and they'll be off topics. Not everybody's going to agree. I don't expect everybody to agree. I mean, when you got a group of passionate people, not everybody's going to agree on everything. I know there's some things that I don't agree on in the system, but we work with it. So hopefully we can move on with what I'm trying to achieve within the group, and then we can really kick on and start making a difference. It can be rolled out in other states, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve, to make it nationwide. So I hope you are really interested and stick around. Alright, thanks. I'll see you all next time. Bye.